What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. I am here with my coach, Adam, and today we're going to talk to you everything about bulking. So if you are a beginner, if you've never bulked before, you're considering bulking, or you're trying to build some muscle, this is the video for you. Adam, is there anything you'd like to say before we get started?
Well, thanks for coming out to Las Vegas to use the new studio.
Yes,
and
beautiful.
I hope that you like it.
No, I absolutely love the setup, especially from the last podcast that we filmed. So definitely much improvements, and can't wait to do a lot of fun stuff in here. So
absolutely.
If you guys want to see more podcasts after this, just let me know and I'll fly to Vegas. All right, so I think the first question should be, who is bulking for and why should someone bulk?
Yeah, really bulking's for anyone who wants to put on size that maybe reasonably should, right? I think we see sometimes people who've been, you know what, it's everyone's personal agenda on what they want to do with their body, but sometimes I've made the mistake when I was younger. I just really chased size when I probably should have gotten a little bit leaner to see what size I did have, because I spent a lot of time working on muscle groups that I, like my chest, for instance, which is now like actually pretty big for me. It will be the only muscle group I say is big. But, I spent a lot of time on my chest because I couldn't see the detail of it and made my chest look smaller. So I did waste a lot of time training other muscle groups that just weren't as important. But in general, people who do want to put on size or have the need to put on size, whether it be for competition or just personal goals.
Now, would you say, there's some people that may say, isn't bulking or gaining more body fat not good for us? Like, isn't that like going opposite towards better health?
Yeah, definitely. Like the size component is pretty detrimental for people. When we look at just in general getting heavier, getting bigger, it makes your systems work harder. You're a less efficient engine. So it is one of the least healthy things you do. And that's why you always need to manage your health, look at your blood work, which we'll be talking about, and just making sure that we're not associating ourselves with any more risk factors. If you know your parents, that's very helpful. If you don't, it's really kind of a guessing game, but are you more susceptible to heart disease, high cholesterol? Also, another thing that we should touch on is, are you capable of dieting out of the bulk again? And you could get to the end of a bulk and realize, crap, I have no idea how to diet to undo some of this. And I think that is likely really important for our listeners.
Have you ever seen, you as obviously coaching lots of competitors, have you seen any situations that turned out bad like that, where maybe they couldn't get out of a bulk, or they kind of fell in love with more eating, or maybe had trouble eating less after eating so much?
Yeah, I think sometimes people just get addicted to the lifestyle of eating more. Food gives us a really easy dopamine rush. Yeah. It's the hardest thing to quit.
Yep.
Because you need to eat. Like if someone has an alcohol addiction, they don't need alcohol to live, but you always need food for fuel, and yeah. It definitely is very, very tough. This is why we have a really obese society to begin with.
Yeah, for 100% agreed. What would you say is a good pace for someone that is trying to bulk? It's my first time bulking. What kind of a pace am I looking for? Am I just shooting for a number? I feel like a lot of people just shoot for this. If I weigh 170, people shoot high and say, I want to see 200, right? But does it matter if I get to 200 by next month or in the next 7 months?
Yeah, so the speed that you do it in is important, because if you just gain the weight too fast, you're certainly just going to gain a lot of body fat. We went pretty heavy with your last bulk, though, because we did do it in a shorter amount of time as well. So, this time we're taking things much slower. We're probably looking at roughly a quarter pound a week, if even that. So like a half pound to a pound a month, we're taking things pretty slow. I think that's a good for most people. But the question is what are the endogenous hormones doing? This is a little simpler for men than women. And also, what does the overall look like? And that's really important. I know we got you a little uncomfortable in your last bulk, but I always assured you, like, you had also dieted to a great level with me. So I knew you could get back to that.
Yeah.
So, had we not dieted before,
It,
I probably wouldn't have taken you up to that level.
yeah, it's almost like you don't even know where my mental state would be trying to come back out of that.
Yeah.
So kind of like how we were just talking about, will this person be able to get out of that bulk? Because yeah, we definitely pushed that, to a limit I've never seen before, a limit that I personally learned from and enjoyed just because of all of the learning I got from that. And like you said, it's good and reassuring to hear that, being that we will be bulking potentially still another month from right now. Another year from right now.
Another year, yeah.
That we're kind of going at this quarter pound, if that, a week, a pound, or half a pound, a month. So a very slow approach, being that we're going to be in this for a very long time, because a lot can happen in a year. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what would you say, these words are thrown around a lot: lean bulk, man gain, dirty bulk. What do these things mean?
Yeah, so I think a lean bulk, typically is defined somebody that is gaining weight, but they're staying leaner. Usually a little bit less effective. People tend to undershoot it. We've got to worry about the language that we use. And then dirty bulk, I don't know if people are classifying that as the type of calories they're eating.
That's what I was going to say.
Or are they just really kind of letting themselves go? So like, I can kind of think of two ways that would be kind of wrong, However, maybe someone doesn't have the financial capabilities to afford good quality food. It is important because you're definitely going to shoot your cholesterol probably higher in a bulk. But then if you're doing it with less clean food, it's probably going to be a little bit worse on your health. However, at the end of the day, the calories really are the most important piece, how quick you're doing it, and, also the training behind it, of course.
Yeah. Would you say that, I hear this one a lot. If I'm not mistaken, it's man gaining or main gaining.
I've not heard this yet, and this is funny.
It's one of those, so if I'm definitely manipulating it, but it's definitely one of those two. And I'm assuming it's just more like a lean bulk, right? Because a lot of people say you don't have to bulk to build muscle. And I think someone that says that is more referring to you don't have to gain so much excess body fat to build muscle, right? Do it with a slight caloric surplus, right? Something very slow, something very lean approach. But I also think that people compare lean bulk and dirty bulk to the type of foods, not just so much the approach of calories. They talk about a lean bulk being more whole foods and good quality foods and, these clean eating, compared to dirty bulk is more like you're probably eating burgers and fries every day. Mm-hmm. But I will say that I did fall myself into I wouldn't say a victim, but I did get very comfortable with bulking back in 2022 with, in my head, it was all about gaining the weight. Right? I was prioritized strength training and building muscle, but for me, it was almost like a game. I felt like if we weren't eating enough calories, or if I wasn't eating enough that day, I was almost losing my gains. So for me, it was, and if I was full of eating so much good quality whole foods, I was so full, I would go make a move and go to McDonald's, or I would go something that can be quick and get the fastest calories possible. And while I was on track 4 to 5 times of the week, I'd say at least 1 to twice, maybe even 3 times, rare occasions, but I would go out and eat more and I would indulge a lot more. Because again, for me, it was all about the calories. As long as I get the calories, I'm good. Don't worry, I'll lose all the weight. But with that approach, with that mentality, I gained 60 pounds, right?
Yeah.
So I always bring it back to, now that I think about it, it's like maybe if I would have, listened to your guidance a little bit more and wasn't so worried about what if I can't eat this much, and should I just go to McDonald's and make it a quick move like that, I wouldn't have gained 60 pounds. So I kind of let myself go in a way, but I was also ready to make the switch whenever it was time.
Yeah, for sure.
But then that's when I got into those like scares of, okay, I think I'm getting, my stomach is too big, my legs, my glutes, and the stretch marks started to come around. So I think we kind of brought it up a little bit, but does quantity matter more over quality when it comes to bulking?
Yeah, like if you're eating really quality foods, you may never get the calories high enough. So there may be times you need to put not clean food into your diet. Craig, who I coach, he eats like a cheat meal a day, just to get the food highest. And breakfast is always his toughest meal of the day. And, there's validity to that, and people sometimes need that. Sometimes people are drinking some intra-workout carbs. So they're essentially what they're doing is having maybe some sugar during their training to make sure that they're, eating enough calories. So it's definitely important. And I think people get really attached to the scale or the number on the scale, especially when they're younger. I was very much that way because I had no idea how to look at my body like at all, because I actually bulked before I got lean. So for me, it was just about that number. And like the first time I did Atkins diet, which was really horrible, but I started seeing, striations, and I was like, wow, I'm really liking this. So I put more on how I look versus the number, which I can say you've definitely grown through that process now too.
So, bring me back to that. You said you did the Atkins diet for a bulking process? Or?
Actually, this was for my cut.
Okay.
So you just eliminated all carbs. It
Yeah.
was just like something my parents did, and I was pretty new to the gym, and I was ready to cut. So you would just eat protein, basically. So protein and fat, basically keto-esque in a way.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably one of the easiest ways if you wanted to rack up calories in a bulking situation is increase the fat, the fat content. So what would you say are the best supplements, right? You don't necessarily need supplements, especially as a beginner, but supplements are there to supplement, a deficiency or something where we lack an area. So what kind of supplements would be beneficial for someone that is bulking, and especially a beginner?
First and foremost, creatine's
Number
huge.
one, yeah.
Like just having that extra water retention, the extra recovery, the ability to have more endurance. It's the king of bulking and leaning too. Like I just really think it's a great all-around supplement. I'll actually put berberine in there because berberine actually will help you shuttle more glucose into the cells. And as you bulk, those cells get saturated. And one of my mentors, Jason, taught me this, where it's really like a lock and keys scenario. So you're looking at glucose as the keys and your muscle cells are the locks. Well, once you bulk enough, it's almost like someone's put super glue in those locks and those keys can't go in. So then it starts finding the fat cell. So berberine helps, and then there's, that helps you stay more insulin sensitive, which is, why I have you guys test blood sugar in the off season. That's something we look at. Once those locks get full, we try to clear those locks, and then we start trying to go up again. And a lot of times we just hit such a level of calories, that's just where we're at. But it's not a great thing to have high glucose or be like pre-diabetic. So that's the other thing that we're really looking out for.
And you said that was berberine?
Berberine. Yep.
So you would say berberine and creatine are your two
favorites, yeah.
Okay. Protein powder, right? That's more of like if you feel like you don't get enough protein, you feel like you struggle to get enough protein. It's not the magic powder to gains, right? It just allows you to help you get more protein. But I think that, when someone's bulking or someone's trying to build muscle, the question always comes around, should I have a protein shake, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is a quick and easy way, fast digestive to get some sort of protein. And I've never seen my protein intake so high.
Right.
So
Yeah.
to try and get, most people strive to get over 200 grams, but a lot of people struggle to get 200 grams.
They do.
And a very quick and easy way is 1 to 2 scoops of protein powder. That can easily be 25 to 50 grams of protein just right there.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I almost have forgotten to add that as a supplement because it's just such a staple at my household. Like, I'm just like, who wouldn't have protein powder in their house, right? But it's on those fast days, it's just something really quick and easy to grab, which is nice.
Yeah, and even for for some of my clients that I make meal plans for, sometimes, hey, I don't really have time to cook in the morning. Honestly, I don't want to cook in the morning. Obviously, eggs and egg whites and things like that, bacon are more of like the morning foods. And some people don't really like eggs. So
Right.
something quick and easy is, I always recommend, hey, maybe a scoop or two of protein powder with a fruit can really, go a long way and get us started with getting that protein in already. But you did touch upon creatine. So before we get into like the training part of things, which is very important to the bulking process, a lot of people run away from creatine because they think of bloating or they think of, am I going to gain more weight or is this all this water? One, in the bulking process, and then two, a lot of people, when it's time to cut or think about fat loss, that supplement is never thought to be brought up because it's like, aren't I going to hold more water? So what do you think about that?
Yeah, you're holding the water in the cells, which is key. So we see this because people are just still attached to the numbers so much. We see people still to this day who coaches pull their creatine right before their show and they wonder why they were flat or not as muscular, and they're taking one of the agents that's making them hold more water in the tissues. And it's really studied time and time again that your muscles get saturated with creatine that makes you fuller. Your muscles are made up of water, so it's a really important component. Actually, these ethyl esters or creatines that don't make you hold as much water are less effective because you're holding less water in the tissues. You're not necessarily not bloating from it,
And what would you say recommendations? Because I think we talked about it once and you brought it up to where you even once said, I can go up to even 10 grams of creatine a day.
Yeah, I would say like 6 to 7 for females and 10 for men is fine. It's not going to be harmful to your kidneys. That's been studied over and over. We can drop some research here if our, members or viewers want to see that. But yeah, it's completely safe. Where that gets dissected a bit, there's a marker on your labs called creatinine, and it looks like it's spelled like creatine, and a lot of athletes have elevated creatinine levels, which is a byproduct of hard training. And, doctors see that and they're like, we need you to stop taking creatine for a couple weeks and it's bad on your kidneys. They'll just add that in there with no, basis of knowledge. And I get it. They hear it. It looks similar. And, there's definitely a divide in like nutrition coaching and, being a doctor, they kind of learn completely different things.
Before we get into the training part, I know we talked a little bit about blood work. So if someone is bulking, what's a good recommendation on how frequent should someone get blood work, and what are the main things I'm looking for in my blood work as someone that may not know much? When I see my blood work, obviously doctors will help guide the patient, but when I see my paperwork, what are some just key things besides all the information there that I should be seeing when bulking just to make sure things are going good during a bulk?
Yeah, so you're going to look at your A1C, your glucose essentially, which is in your A1C, also your cholesterol. So those are going to be like your primary, but we should also look at the CBC, making sure that you don't have any iron or nutrient deficiencies. Like those are really important, like all the time. But I want to throw that into the bulk because, you shouldn't really be deficient in anything when you're growing, right? Like, so that's a real alarm if you're like low in vitamin B and you're eating a lot of
So much
food
food, yeah.
and you may not be feeling that great or as great as you can. So those methyl donors are really, really important. The iron's really, really important. But yeah, just making sure cholesterol doesn't get out of whack. Another thing is like just liver health in general. So your ALT, AST, and I'm even just speaking for natural athletes to make sure that your, bile ducts are flowing a little bit better. Sometimes we see elevations in those even with natural competitors as well. So if your, liver is detoxing better, usually your cholesterol is better anyhow. And also your digestion tends to be better because those bile ducts are flowing a little bit better for good digestion.
Now, I'm just going to backtrack, real quick because I just want to let people know that, while you are bulking, after we kind of already went over it, it is okay to eat these quote unquote bad foods, to throw them in your diet, especially if you feel like you struggle to meet your calorie intake, right? Just like we talked about, so much clean eating sometimes makes it very difficult to reach 3,000, 3,500 calories or even the upper 4,000s. So sometimes you need that Pop Tart that is not considered healthy, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you need, I don't know, a Rice Krispie or, things like that. But I think it is important that when you are focusing on more of a, higher percentage on good quality foods, whether it's a 80-20 or 90-10 approach, it is important to at least enjoy yourself a little bit. Not completely go overboard, as long as we're tracking calories and all these things are equated, right? But now let's get to the fun stuff because this is probably just as important as the overall calories that we're consuming when bulking. Because when we're bulking, we're usually bulking for a reason, right? And we want to pack on some muscle, we want to build muscle, and we want to be able to see these gains. So I think a lot of people talk about cardio when it comes to bulking. Should I do any cardio? Is cardio, am I going to lose my gains when doing cardio? And I'll say that I believe when we did our first bulk, I'm pretty sure you had me doing cardio. It might have been anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes, 5 times a week. I probably didn't do it as much as I should because in my head, in my mentality, it was more so more calories. If I'm doing more cardio, wouldn't I have to eat more food? It's almost like counterintuitive, right? But when I talk to people like Brandon Hendricks, he would always tell me, he goes, you should be doing cardio every day. We're not doing cardio for an hour, but hey, you should at least do 20 minutes. Cardio should be seen more than just like burning calories. As a matter of fact, it would actually help you build more of an appetite. And when he told me that, I was like, wow, that might actually work so I can eat more food. Mm-hmm. But also more for our overall cardiovascular health, especially because we are putting on more weight.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cardio in general, too, like it's just recommended that I think on a daily basis, people get 30 minutes a day. Not that I'm always recommending that because you might lift in a fashion that gets your heart rate up, but it's going to make your heart better and your arteries more flexible to, prevent heart disease, which is great. But, it's a problem if you're doing bicep curls and you're just out of breath because how in the world are you going to grow your legs if you're out of breath on arm day? And, this is something that I ask a lot of my males because they tend to be worse about cardio than my females. I'm kind of hard on my guys, because it's a little more fun to, pick on them and they handle it better. But, if you're running out of steam on legs because you're gassed for air, like you're not going to grow your legs because they never reach like full muscular fatigue. You're reaching aerobic fatigue before you've even hit the reps that you need to get close to failure. So
now it was funny. I was actually talking to Daniel and Danny about it today. How when it comes to me training legs, and I want to bring it up and talk to you about it, just so we can, we're in the topic of cardio. I can train my upper body, chest, shoulders, back, whatever it is. I can train it very intense. I can train to failure. I get winded here and there, but nothing where I feel like I'm going to pass out. I feel like I might be a little pale. I feel like I might be a little shaky. I feel like I need 5 minutes to recover. The day I train legs, legs is one of the things that I'm really looking to grow. But because we only train them once a week, I train them with intensity. I know that I have a lot of time to recover. But during my training sessions, the minute I hit any compound exercise, whether it's a leg press, a hack squat, it takes the absolute soul out of me. Like I say it as a joke, but I actually do this every leg day. I can't go a leg day without drinking a Gatorade because I feel like I need that sugar immediately, because if not, like I feel like I'm going to pass out. Like it's almost like embarrassing. I'm like, I need to take 5 minutes before I do this set, or if not, I'm not lifting that thing again. You know, why is it like? Would you say is it more of a cardiovascular thing, or?
I think for you, you're just muscularly pushing yourself the way you should be in the gym. I mean,
Okay.
one of the reasons that I'm not even gonna lie, I don't want to prep again is because like I take it to that level. And that built me, and I love that. You know, when I feel like you know, like everyone has a down day, I don't want to do emails. It's like way effing better than doing a leg day like that.
Yeah.
You know, like shit. You know, I beat the hell out of myself in the gym, and you know, kudos to you for pushing that hard and being in men's physique, because a lot of people kind of like to avoid that work in a way. I'm not going to say everybody, but a lot of people do. It's easier to train like a maniac on just your upper body, but I personally think if you're pushing your legs like that, you're going to have that much more push in your back days, which is another pretty brutal one too. It's a big muscle group in your arms, and you're just going to make that stuff hurt the most. And I actually think your CrossFit background says a lot about you too, because there's nothing in my career I've done harder than leg days and CrossFit workouts. Like they kind of go hand in hand on how they make you feel.
Exactly. It's pretty brutal. You know, you could end up throwing up here and there. You could end up on the floor recovering for another 5-10 minutes. You know, some people even get rhabdo after doing, you know, so much, you know, intense training like that. So yeah, that's a very good comparison, honestly, because I do feel like that. I can only remember, you know, years ago when I was competing, anytime I finished a workout, it could have been 5 minutes, it could have been 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. But within that time, you are not stopping. You are going absolutely as hard as you can and as fast as you can. And it's not even about the weight, because you're not pushing as much weight for some of these things. It's more of a time cap. So you're trying to get as many rounds as possible, and you're just moving as fast as you can. So there's like no time for breathing. You breathe when you're done, right? So once those 20 minutes, once you hear that beep, you're just on the floor, take my shoes off. If I have anything, take my hands off. I just need a fan in front of me. Like I can literally and vividly remember that in my head right now.
Yeah, and the goal's not to throw up, but sometimes when you're pushing that hard, it just happens, you know.
Sure.
I can think of, you know, probably 3 times at Beyond Limits in Ohio, I did that, and then, you know, a couple times at just my local YMCA when I was training, and, you know, that really wasn't the gym for that to happen, but everyone was pretty supportive of it when it happened, you know, and I always tried to be careful with my clients to push them like close to that point, but, you know, not, so then they'd want to come back. But, you know, sometimes it just accidentally happens, and, you know, kudos for the push, you know.
You know, now that we're talking about the push, this kind of goes into my next question, right? Because the harder you push, the more you train, recovery needs to be a talk, right? Sometimes we think doing more is better. We think going to the gym 7 days a week, training to failure, doing 4 or 5 sets for every exercise, doing 8 exercises is the way to go. And from my opinion, from what I've done the past few years, and as a natural, I feel like it's the complete opposite, right? It's not about the more, the better. I think quality is very important when we talk about that. It's not all about weight. It's more about, you know, your intention of your training. Your recovery is one of the most important things. I think a lot of people think about, I'll sleep when I'm dead, or, you know, sleep is, you know, people will say everything, right? Sleep is for the broke, but it's like, it's actually the opposite, right? If you want gains, if you want to grow, this is where you grow, right? This is the most important time, which, you know, that being said, it's kind of, you know, our bedtime already, right? You know, here in Vegas, I should be sleeping already in Miami, but, you know, what's a good, you know, for a beginner, how many times should I work out, right?
Yeah, it's good we rolled into this because, you know, looking back on those old workouts I did, I certainly just rolled right into my next one. And I think that's one of the coolest things about coaching you is you're so open to being coached, and then your drive to want to help others with your coaching, through us is amazing. And you just, I know with you, if you were competing against someone you were coaching, you would want them to beat you just because you want to see people be their best. And you're just so open. You're able to, focus on recovery more than I did. It's like kind of too late for me because I'm not in my bodybuilding career anymore. And I love that, being 42, I can pass that down to you earlier, while you're in your career. And that's really important. But I would say 4 to 5 days a week is usually good for people. Two people at my gym that I really like to watch are Stan and Justin. Stanimal is a Olympian. He's actually been an Olympian in men's physique, classic physique, and now he's pursuing Olympia feat in bodybuilding.
Wow.
So all three divisions. I do think he will get it this year. So it's super important, it's super cool to just see him doing that. His training partner, Justin, to my knowledge, sometimes one of them needs recovery. Even though they train together, they understand how important that recovery is. And it's awesome to see like top Olympians, a top up and coming, soon to be IFBB pro in Justin's case, focusing on these things. I think a lot of people think we're trying to trick them by saying like we're resting, and it's really not the case. Like we really are taking our time to rest. We're not trying to trick anyone. We're just trying to make them better. But you really do need to heal. We're starting to find, that the fascia is getting pinned down in the muscle from overtraining. Like you need massage. You need a lot more than just taking time off from the gym. So you really got to take just as much time to recover as you are breaking down the muscle tissue.
Yeah. I think something that I've been noticing recently was, currently I train 5 times a week with 2 rest days. And I found like that has been very good for me. It allows me to train 3 days on, 1 day off, and then 2 days on, 1 day off. And then I kind of recycle that cycle. But here and there, I've noticed that I get very sore. Sometimes it's very hard for me to recover from some of my workouts. So here and there, I'm almost like considering doing like 3 days of rest. But I get it. I understand why a lot of people don't like the rest because, sometimes people go to the gym not just to build muscle and go in there because they love it. I mean, some people it's more like it's my time, right? I worked all day. I want to go to the gym, and I get that, right? But obviously, we do got to consider these things if building muscle is important to us, or maybe those days we don't go as hard. If I am, I got to go to the gym at least every day and do something. But, things that we can do on our rest days are maybe just something active, right? Like, you've seen me recently on my stories on my rest days. I'm kind of playing basketball of 20, 30 minutes. I'm still doing something active. I'm not, blowing up my biceps and going to failure on a dumbbell bench press, but I'm going out there getting my heart rate up. It's nothing too intense. I'm not out there doing sprints or anything, but something 20 to 30 minutes will go a long way. And if you need that separation from household, kids, family, work, stress, life, sometimes doing something like that, going out for a walk or doing a sport, doing something that's going to keep you active, can go a long way. And I think, I always tell people the best cardio is the one that you're actually going to do. So find something that you can stick to, find something that you enjoy, more than likely you'll do it long term.
Absolutely.
And I think the last question, talking about, training is, and we talked about, how many days is, what's like the best training split for a beginner? And I think when we talk about beginners, we're talking about people that don't regularly strength train, might be new to the gym, and are within that 0 to 6 months, right? I think once we start talking about you're a year in, you're like getting more into an intermediate. So I guess what would be like the best training split that you would recommend?
I think train individual muscle groups. Like if you're doing 4 days a week, you can do, chest, back, arms, legs, 4 days a week. I think that's pretty good. If you wanted a 5th day, you can start that rotation back up again. Sometimes the leg day within that is really tough. pinning 2 leg days in a week for a beginner can be a lot. I think that they really need to learn like that intensity, that grind, and almost taking a full week to recover from it. Because even if you're not training that hard, I mean, those fibers really hurt for a while.
Yeah, it still adds up.
Yeah, I think it took me years to get used to leg training, to be quite honest, and actually like recover from it. So I would say, you could also do like push-pull legs.
Which is very common to when you're doing something like a 6-day split, right?
Yeah.
I feel push-pull legs is very common for, push-pull legs. You can take a rest and do push-pull legs, or most people would just kind of go 6 days straight and then rest on Sunday, right? But when we talk about recovery, I mean, I think that's pretty intense as well.
Yeah, it is. And you can also do like 3 days a week push-pull legs and be fine.
Yeah.
I think 3 days a week is really a great start for a beginner. I probably trained my first full like 8 months, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, weekend off, and had great results with that. And then I just didn't want to take the time off from the gym after a while. And next thing I knew, I was training a lot more, too much, unfortunately.
Believe it or not, for those of you that are beginners, and you just got to get in there. And I know it might seem intimidating at first, but you just got to get in there. You got to get started. You do 2 days, you do 3 days. You fall into that routine. You do it for a month, you do it for 2 months. You start to fall in love. You go 4 days. You go 5 days. You start to really love it. And that's why I go back to it's hard to take rest days sometime. Not because I don't get it, but it's just like I just like being in there. I like feeling the pump, or like sometimes it's a social hour for some people. Like I want to go in there and just see my buddies that I don't usually see. I know I see these people at work every day, and I like to see some of my friends at times, and I get that. But I think another good workout split for a beginner that we didn't really bring up is kind of like a full body. When you do like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because when we want to talk about frequency and training, because if we do like a old school single body part, you only train that muscle once, right? And I think now science has shown like, you can train chest if you want to twice, shoulders if you want to twice. You just want to make sure you spread it out accordingly. So doing something like a full body split for beginners that aren't in there as much, as long as you space it out accordingly, a full body split, would be good. And a full body split, for those of you who don't know, would basically, like if you did on a Monday, you can do one chest, you can do one chest exercise, one back exercise, one quad exercise, one hamstring exercise, and a shoulder exercise. 5 to 6 exercises at most, I think would be good for a day. And, you could take a day or two off, and you can do the same muscle groups again. Just you can change up the exercises if you want to, and then you kind of want to repeat that. Because I think when it comes to training, a lot of people fall in love with, I got to do a different workout every day. And I think like in CrossFit, when people go from CrossFit to bodybuilding, I'm just so used to either beating myself to the ground. So I'm used to hot box and sweating compared to nice AC. I'm not really sweating as much. I'm used to seeing a different workout every single day. When in bodybuilding, in reality, it's, you can say it's kind of boring because you do the same things again, but that's the beauty about it, right? You got to keep chasing that. And that's the only way you're ever going to know if you're going to get stronger at a specific exercise, right? You have to keep doing a dumbbell incline bench press if you want to go from 50 to 55, from 55 to 60. You can't do it 1 week and do it 4 weeks later and just start doing different chest exercises. I tell people, like, what's the quickest way to finish a book? You got to keep reading that book every day, right? Imagine reading a page in 10 different books. Well, you're never really going to finish a book, right? How long is that going to take you? So sticking to that exercise, doing it for 8 to 12 weeks. If you get bored of it, if you realize maybe that exercise wasn't the best for you, change it up, right? But you got to do it for a little bit. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think we pretty much covered a little bit about, nutrition and the training side of things of bulking. Is there anything that maybe you feel like we might have missed? Anything you want to touch on to kind of finalize it here?
I think that's, pretty solid. I will say I think we spoke more in terms of natural and non-enhanced athletes because obviously the gains could be a lot faster with, somebody that's reaching super physiological levels of hormonal, changes. But yeah, I think we covered everything.
Yeah, and I definitely, it's funny you mentioned that because I actually did want to, you know, later on this week, we'll probably end up touching base on one of those topics. Because I definitely want to keep it more topic based where we just focus on one topic and just run through it. So then if someone is here really interested, about bulking, well, you come to the right spot. So this is my coach, Adam. For those of you guys who don't know, some of you may be new to my channel. So you're like, who's this guy standing next to me? He's not this crazy celebrity, but in my head, he really is, because he is kind of one of my, I'm one of his biggest fans. He is my coach. He really taught me literally everything I know. And now, because of him, I get to coach a lot of you. And, he continues to mentor me. So if there's anyone interested in learning more, if there's anyone interested in potentially competing, we're here for you. See You Later Leaner is here for you. We'd love for you to be part of the team. I know the last podcast we did, we actually had 2 people join. So that's awesome. We'll love to see you on the stage, whether it's a men's physique athlete like me, whether it's a classic physique athlete, whatever it is, whatever shape you're trying to get into, whatever goals you have, we're here for you. We're here to support you all the way through, just like, he supported me, and I'm trying to do the same for you, right? So I think that's pretty much it. I think this was a really good topic, especially, I wish I had this video 3 years ago when I started bulking.
Right, same.
Right? So yeah, I think this is very good for all beginners. I hope you guys utilize this. If you have any questions, any concerns, anything you guys want to know more about, please answer in the comments. I'll make sure that Adam and I are in the comments. I'm always in there, but I'll make sure he's in there answering some of your comments. And I think that's pretty much it. Stay tuned for the next video, because we are here in Vegas and we're trying to film as many videos as we can, taking advantage that I'm here with my coach. We will be doing some more podcasts, so stay tuned for that. I appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace, guys.